From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
Hey, we're live at Funhouse Pizza in Lee's Summit. It is a special version of Dale Carter's America, the podcast. And tonight we're focusing on Jackson County. Or are we? I mean, we'll get to all that coming up a little bit later on. There are a lot of folks who are responsible for bringing you this podcast. Some of them are here tonight. My dear friend Bob Watson is in the back with his lovely wife, Mita. Got any State Farm clients here? Probably got some Bob Watson clients here because Bob's been doing this for 51 years now, Bob? 51 years. He's been repping State Farm. He's been at it longer than Patrick Mahomes has been alive and almost as long as Andy Reid has been around. 7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878, Auto Home Life. Bundle your home and car insurance and save. Bob is a fantastic guy and a big-time supporter of the podcast. Austin Watterson is not here tonight, but if all those storms gave you some roof damage, he's a guy that you ought to be talking to. Royal Roofing and Solar. You can find them on the web at roofedbyroyal.com. They did the roof at my house. They did a fantastic job. They'll do a great job for you as well. 816-540-7057. Our host for tonight is Jim Dingman, Funhouse Pizza, 50 Highway here in Lee's Summit. Give him a big round of applause. He's an awesome host for this. He also owns a location in Blue Springs on 7 Highway, Funhouse Pizza. It's always fun. It's great pizza, great drinks, and all that. Also here with us tonight is Kirk Doris. Kirk is in the back. Say hi to Kirk. Kirk is with Medicare Simplified KC, and how many in the room are close to 65 or maybe over 65? All right, are you on Medicare yet? Because he's the guy that can untangle the web that is Medicare. It is a government program, so that's all I'm going to say about that. MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. In fact, if you're in this crowd and you're approaching 60, I would make a point to talk to Kirk Doris before you leave tonight and get an appointment with him. He'll come to you, you go to him. Go see Kirk Doris here before you leave if you've got somebody in your family who's approaching 65. So those are just some of the folks who bring you Dale Carter's America, the podcast. We've been doing this since, Kurt, when did we start?
Since Inauguration Day.
Inauguration Day of
Biden.
Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And obviously we worked for 4 years to get the government that we have now, and we're doing okay with that, although we have some things we like to debate about that too. But that's not the goal tonight. Tonight the goal is to talk about the mess of the county that we live in, Jackson County. And we have a couple of state reps who are with us tonight. We were going to have 3, and we'll talk about why we don't have 3. But we do have Ron Fowler here and CAROLYN Caton. Ron Fowler, District 31. CAROLYN Caton, District 33, who has been a guest on the podcast. In fact, she would probably give us credit, Kurt, for getting her elected.
All right.
Yeah, count on that. Come on up, guys. We're gonna set you right here next to me, and we have several things we're going to talk about with the state reps who are looking at the Jackson County issue from the state level. Obviously, we know we've got a mess in county government. We're going to have you guys share that mic. Is that okay? Because you told me, Ron, you told me you guys, you fuel off of each other.
Absolutely.
All right.
Normally the 3 of us do. So.
Get in good and close here. And Mike Steinmeier could not be with us tonight. You want to talk about maybe why or?
Yeah, Mike Steinmeier, he's a freshman with us as well. All 3 of us work together. I do appreciate working here with CAROLYN. She's the hardest working freshman in Jeff City.
You're too kind.
Yeah.
You're too kind.
And but Mike Steinmeier, he couldn't make it tonight. His granddaughter, they found out, has a growth in her brain, and she had to have surgery today. So she's out, granddaughter June, and our thoughts and prayers are with her and the Steinmeiers tonight. And just hope for the best outcome, but I don't think she's even out of surgery just yet.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. We'll pray for them. We're glad to have the 2 of you here tonight to talk about some things. As I looked out in the crowd, it's interesting because Ron and I served together on the Blue Springs City Council, and as I look out in this crowd tonight, we could have a quorum of former and current Blue Springs City Council members.
Absolutely. I see Jerry Kaler, Susan Culpepper, Kent Edmondson,
Dale
and myself. Yeah, that's 5. So
that's 5. I think that would have worked as a quorum back in the day.
Wait, And Carson, he's not here because he had surgery, I heard. So,
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I hope he's doing okay. So let's jump into this because obviously we know that Jackson County is a mess from several different angles here. We've got people here tonight from the Recall Frank White movement. Where are you folks? Recall Frank White? They can't see you waving. Make noise. All right. And there's the tax assessment issue and all that. Where do you want to jump in here and start this discussion?
How about we start with the good news of something that has passed?
We'll talk about my HJR 23.
Sure.
So HJR 23 passed out of the House and the Senate. It is going to force Jackson County to have an elected assessor. It will be on a statewide ballot.
You know, Carolyn, what shocked me when I read the description of the bill that Ron sent me is that this can't be true. That Jackson County is the only county in Missouri that does not have an elected assessor?
That is true. Out of 114 counties, they actually don't consider the city of St. Louis an actual county, but they and Jackson County are the only two that do not have an elected assessor position. So I get asked quite often why the entire state should have to vote on that, and the answer is because we have to. It's just that simple. We have to do that. So we talked to our fellow representatives and legislatures. They all know the debacle that we've faced here with our taxes recently in Jackson County. They feel our pain, and they're going to help us spread the word to their constituents in their areas why they need to vote and help us get this passed.
Okay. So it'll be a statewide vote.
Correct.
When we have it. So hopefully the rest of the state will agree with us that if all of their counties have elected assessors, we ought to have one in Jackson County as well.
That is correct.
All right, as long as we're going to stay. And a little surprise for everybody, we're going to have a candidate who's going to be on the Republican side, I would assume, for assessor in Jackson County when you get all that done. When do you think that might be?
Probably probably 28, but the governor could put it on a different ballot should he so choose.
Yeah.
So that's kind of up in the air. There's some false things going around that the county executive, which we all know who that is, could veto this. You can't veto this. It's going on a ballot.
I think he vetoes things whether it's
Yeah,
legal
sure.
or not, right?
Veto this. Veto that.
That sounds like what's going on. So, Ron, I know you've dug into this quite a bit as far as the tax assessment issue, and I worked with you long enough in Blue Springs to know that you can dig into things and get into the nitty-gritty. And if you don't know your stuff, you better not go toe-to-toe with Ron Fowler. That's all I'm going to tell you on that. So what have you found, and what can you do from the state level?
Well, let me just first say that there is a lot of activity from a lot of different elected officials in Jefferson City relative to Jackson County property taxes. There's all kinds of opportunity for improvement on assessments, and so Senator Joe Nicolas worked on things, Senator Searpoint.
Jeff Coleman.
Right here, CAROLYN Caton, she has a bill this year to work on meeting better communication back to the citizens and really putting them in the loop so that we understand what the county is doing and how they're coming up with these numbers. So all those are activities. They're trying to limit the amount of increase. There's even some Democratic representatives and independents trying to cap the amount of increases that can occur. Obviously, people have been working on senior tax freezes as well, and that at least has got traction. And as you know, you can turn that in Jackson County and get your property tax if you're a senior citizen frozen. One of the things, though, that was missing, and I think to the Deputy Chief of Staff in the Speaker Patterson's office, they've been working on this for a while. They realized that, hey, the State Tax Commission, they got on to Jackson County. They said, hey, what you've done is wrong here, and the State Tax Commission order said that you have to go back and roll back the 2023 assessments to not more than 15% if you didn't do the inspection. And that follows the law. As a matter of fact, every judge that has actually seen that has actually supported that statement and found that that is correct.
It is. It's actually statute 137.115.
But Jackson County seems to be ignoring that.
Well, and that's what the Speaker's office found out, is that basically Jackson County found a loophole in the system, and that there's really no consequence if you don't follow the State Tax Commission order.
Were we really overbilled $250 million?
That is Sean Smith's estimate, and I would agree with it. I think Preston Smith is here as well, and I think he'd probably agree with that as well. That over a 2-year time, probably 125 million a year. But now that you've gone 2 years with these assessments, you probably collected maybe $250 million over what we should be.
Yeah.
So let me follow up on the
Sure.
State Tax Commission. Yeah, there's no teeth in that. The Speaker's office realized that. They put together a proposal to says, hey, if you don't follow a State Tax Commission order to reduce the assessments, then the State Tax Commission is going to be able to get with the Department of Revenue and have them withhold the sales tax dollars that would go back to the county. That is a consequence. That would be like $40 million a year that the Jackson County would not get returned back to them, and that would weigh on them. Yeah, there would be consequences from that. They would have to, if they sustain that very long, they would be stopping services, et cetera. But importantly, I think that if you got to that area, it would bring Jackson County to the mediation table and get something in discussion about what needs to happen. At this point, I think that mediation may be the only thing. So much water's went under the bridge in the past couple of years that, my father's passed. We can't do anything for him. Same thing for people that have moved out of Jackson County. You can't reimburse them their funds. But we can start talking about how to mediate this and how to give credits going forward to the people that have
Well, you
been.
say head for mediation. I think we're headed for a divorce.
Well, we are there. Absolutely. There's people that want to split the county. We talked about that.
We were talking about the $250 million. We had Jeannie Lauer on the show. Jeannie's a dear friend of mine. She's a friend of yours. Former Blue Springs City Council person. We got a lot of those people running around here. And she basically says, the money's gone. The $250 million, it's gone. I mean, we don't have it. We're not going to pay it. We'll just have to lump it and maybe do better the next time. And I told Jeannie, I had an issue once with the city of Kansas City, believe it or not, over the earnings tax. They went back on me 5 years and said that I underpaid the earnings tax. And I could have told the city of Kansas City, the money's gone. I spent the money. That was not going to be a good excuse. So why is it a good excuse for the county?
It's not.
It shouldn't be. We should hold the county and our governments accountable just like we hold our citizens accountable. And I think that's the message that came with the State Tax Commission is we have to hold the government accountable to the State Tax Commission orders.
I just would like to point out one thing. Ron is very humble, and he is talking about the speaker bill, but he is the one that carried this in the House. It's House Bill 999, and he deserves credit, and I think you guys actually should give him a round of applause for the hard work.
Thank you.
Actually, I think the governor gave you a nice kudo on KCMO.
Yes.
With Pete Mundo.
Actually, both of us.
Thanks,
Yes.
Carolyn. Yeah, the governor did mention that he wanted, this is before HJR 23 was passed, but he said he wanted to get both HJR 23 and 999 to his desk so he could sign that to start dealing with the concerns in Jackson County.
89 and 90, your tacos ready? 89 and 90?
As you know, we got at least one of those put through. There's still plenty of talk about 999. The session's over. It would have to be, it could be next year, but honestly, the timeliness of it needs to be now.
Okay.
It does.
I agree. So you say the session's over. Are you going back for a special session for something?
We will.
Yeah? You want to talk about that?
Sure. We don't know the exact dates, but it will be coming up probably close to June about the stadiums. And Ron, go ahead, and you can give a little bit about that, and then I'm going to take a quick poll.
All right. So I'm going to actually refer to them as the old Truman Sports Complex, right? So the stadium's
Which
there.
would fit well in Truman County.
Oh,
Just a
hey.
little plug for that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, if you do talk about getting that divorce, who would get the stadiums is an excellent question.
Where are the stadiums? Are they in Kansas City or are they in Raytown? Or?
They are actually in Kansas City.
Okay.
Yeah, but boy, they are close to Independence there in Raytown.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, we'll just draw the line a little bit further west.
so I'll start this talk about a special session. My main goal is to get the governor back at the negotiating table for the state of Missouri.
Yes.
Okay, I trust the governor to do the right thing by our citizens. I don't believe that he's going to give away too many tax dollars or anything like that. He is in the driver's seat right now because right now Missouri does have both teams, and he can work with them and I think salvage the situation. But it takes a partner like Jackson County, okay? I think 2 months ago, they were really asking Jackson County to step up and start doing something so that we could present a united front for the sports franchises. But so far, Jackson County has not held up to that end of the bargain. And but at least let's put the governor at the table to do that.
And that's what our vote was for. Our vote was to allow him to go to the table and negotiate on our behalf to keep both of those teams. And our governor is very fiscally responsible. And just like Ron said, I have complete faith that he would do the right thing, not just for Jackson County, but for the state of Missouri. Let's face it, the Chiefs are all for the state of Missouri. They bring in billions and billions and billions dollars of revenue. And, so it's been pointed out, we have several legislators that feel that the property tax situation needs to be fixed before we do anything to help with the Chiefs. So I would just like to take a quick poll by hand. How many folks in the audience feel that right now we should not do anything incentivize at all for the Chiefs? We're not talking about the Royals, but for the Chiefs until the property tax situation has been completely fixed. So how many people think that the Chiefs bring in a tremendous amount of revenue? They would hate to lose the Chiefs and work at both of these issues simultaneously. How many folks feel that way? Okay, well, it's
I think you're about half and half.
Half and half. Yeah, it's about half and half. And that's really what we're finding, is that people are very passionate one way or the other about that. And we have to put emotions aside, and we all just have to come together, and hopefully we can come out with a great solution for both of those issues.
Yeah, I was talking to little Scott, as we call him, or Pickle, whatever his nickname is today. And we were talking about the fact that Missouri does not have a great track record for hanging on to pro sports teams. Mm-hmm. They lost the Rams and the football Cardinals in St. Louis, the A's in Kansas City, the Kings, the Scouts. Who else? Surely there's more. So they don't have a great track record on keeping teams. And right. Kansas is chomping at the bit. They really want them.
Yeah, they do. They're offering bigger tax incentives than what we are. But again, I feel that Kehoe has done a good job, and I don't think he's going to bring something to the table that's not going to produce the fruits. So,
yeah, I just to go back a little bit on all the sports teams you just mentioned, and I want to say that, hey, think about Missouri in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, because Missouri was actually attracting these franchises. Remember, around here we had things like Alice Chalmers, Armco Steel, Leeds Assembly.
Right.
There was manufacturing
Sure.
throughout this area, and some tough times have occurred with Missouri now that we've actually started losing a franchise. I don't want to see this last one go, and I don't believe the governor does either. It's just something very important for our community. I know a lot of people do tie the property tax issue because they said, hey, if the property tax issue hadn't happened, we may have passed that sales tax. And then within 24 hours, Kansas was already talking, their legislator talking about doing something to attract the Chiefs. And certainly they did. They've got a very impressive package that expires at the end of June. Mm-hmm. If we don't get the governor at the seat in the month of June, I fear that the Chiefs may go ahead and take that deal.
Yeah.
Okay. And if we can at least get the governor at the table, my guess is Kansas would extend theirs, and at least we can have some time to discuss this.
You know, we were talking about splitting off the county, and this podcast, and I know a lot of other people were saying, just say no to any tax increase coming out of Jackson County. It's the only way that we can fight right now. And so I was, adamantly opposed to that tax. And you may remember this, all of the direct mail pieces that came during that time had nothing to do with the Royals. It was all about Armageddon for the Chiefs. I mean, I was waiting for the last direct mail piece on Election Day to be a mushroom cloud over Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah.
It's like they were trying to scare the hell out of us
It was
to vote yes.
Absolutely.
And it had the opposite effect. Jackson County voted no. So I just wonder, and I've only lived in the Kansas City area for 30 years, so it's it's not home to me. It's become home, but it's not home to me. When you look at other cities, the fact of the matter is, if the Chiefs and Royals moved to the Kansas side, they would still be in the Kansas City metro. And I'm just wondering, of the people here, and maybe you can by show of hands or however you want to do it, because in New York, for instance, you've got the New York Giants and the New York Jets who play in New Jersey, and they still call them the New York Giants and the New York Jets. Do you really care if they're in Kansas or Missouri?
It's a big loss of jobs. It's a big loss
I
of
get
jobs.
that this is a Jackson County crowd, so don't hang me an effigy just yet. I'm just curious. Yeah, go ahead. I don't think they're going to do that. I think most of these sports owners, it's like if they can do it on our dime as opposed to their dime, that's what they're going to do. Unlike the guy, I can't think of the guy's name, who owned the Rams in St. Louis and moved out to Los Angeles. Kroenke, that's right, Stan Kroenke. He basically built the stadium out there and paid for it, and then he rents it to the Chargers. So he's a very smart businessman. I wish I had a mic on you, but I don't. So I don't know where you want me to go with that. Oh, did you repeat the question? I didn't know what his question was. He just made a statement about beer, you know. Yeah, we're going to move on. Okay.
Hey, Dale, real quick, as being a Kansas,
Yeah.
my entire life,
You're probably the only one here. Mark Zarda comes to all these events, and he comes for the pizza. Well, again, you know, when the Giants and the Jets moved out of New York and moved to New Jersey, I don't know what there was a big hubbub about that. So, yeah. Anyway, we're way off track here. Where are we going next?
I just would like one thing I would like to add on the property taxes that we really didn't get
Yeah.
to. I just found out today that there actually were over 120 bills relating to property taxes filed in the House of Representatives, and as a group, we had one of our most productive sessions, and we still only were able to get out 68 bills.
Yeah,
68
truly.
bills. So just that tells you how many, and there were over 1,700.
100?
Yeah, 1,700 bills actually filed. So it's very difficult to actually get a lot of things passed.
I read the summary that Ron sent me, and one of the bills that really caught my eye was the fact that cotton hauling trucks now
Yeah.
will be able to go 70 miles an hour. We needed a bill for that.
So I would say that as a freshman, you go in and you have all these expectations,
Yeah.
and then you learn reality, right? But we did get a lot of good things passed, but I think we can do better. I really, truly, in my heart, believe that we can do better, and we can focus on other bills that would generate better things for more people. I'm going to give a shout out to a representative, Sean Boucher. His House bill, I think it was 1195, which would have capped insulin at $35. Great bill, huge bill, would have helped so many people. Didn't make it out of committee.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I would like for us to. I mean, for people that haul cotton, great for you. But I'd like to see the people that have a lot of medical issues and needs, that we address those things first.
Okay. All right. You know, one of the things we've talked to Jeff Coleman about in the past is that when you get to a certain age, or maybe you've retired or whatever, and you've paid off your house, he was trying to get property tax waived completely, right?
Right, and actually,
I think that's popular.
Yeah.
Yes,
It is.
yes.
Bought it, you shouldn't have to rent it.
Yeah, exactly.
I
I mean,
agree.
you end up renting your house.
so and interesting enough, I brought a couple along, and his HJ04, which was either to cap at the consumer price index or 2%, that passed out of the House, but it did not pass out of the Senate. And there was another one, and it's hard to read with this light, but this was a good one as well. And it voter approval, if you were a former POW, then you would be exempt from property taxes.
Makes sense.
That's a good bill, right?
Yeah.
That one didn't pass either, but we're working on that. We are going to be down there pushing hard. Both of us have very loud voices. We really don't take no for an answer, and we're gonna push some of these good bills through.
I worked with Ron long enough to know he's not taking no for an
Right.
answer. And I know enough about you from being on the podcast to know that as well. Two other issues that I kind of want to touch on with you guys, at least from the state level, and you live in Jackson County as well. The whole idea of splitting off the county. You know, I joke about it that we're heading for a divorce. We have a situation where you've got two distinct areas with two different outlooks on life. Let's put it that way. Very different. And, you know, you have two courthouses. You've got Kansas City and you've got Independence. It just seems to make sense for these two geographies to exist separately.
I would love to see that happen.
Yeah. That's, those are great discussions, and you mentioned Representative Coleman. I know he's been on this show talking about that with you in the past. Mike Steinmeier is interested in that discussion as well, wants to be part of that conversation.
We're going to have him on as a guest at a different podcast because I
good.
definitely want to get his. I want to get him fired up to the level that I'm fired up. I'm fired up so much. By the way, I'm wearing a Harry Truman T-shirt.
For Truman County?
We need to sell those.
For Truman County. Because,
Yeah.
Again, it's available. I checked,
Yep.
right? It's where Harry's buried, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my dog's name is Harry. So there's a lot of reasons why I really like this.
The last is really important.
To me, it is.
Absolutely.
Very
Yeah.
important. So, and my understanding in dealing with Jeff is we need to get the Jackson County Legislature to basically pass an ordinance that would put it on a ballot. So they've got to
Yes.
agree with it as well. And if you go, and there is precedence for this, because if you go back to 1876, you've got St. Louis and St. Louis County, and it was the opposite. It was the city saying, we don't want these county people anymore.
Right.
Here, it's more us county folks saying, yeah, we don't want you.
Right.
Very true.
Yeah, it is definitely possible. It has happened in the past. And it would be nice to give us the opportunity to be our own county.
Do either one of you know John Bedoin?
I do
Don't.
not.
John is a friend of mine. He's a journalist here in Lee Summit. Some heads nodding out there. When I brought this up, I'm guessing this was 2 years ago when Coleman and I started talking about this. I had this idea because the straw that broke the camel's back for me was they put on the ballot again removing the Andrew Jackson statues from in front of the courthouse after we overwhelmingly voted to keep them there.
Sure.
So they're just going to keep putting it on the ballot until they get it passed. That, the assessments, and all this other stuff that's going on. I called Coleman and I said, I got a wacky idea. Can we split this county and just take the eastern suburbs and go? And he said, I'm working on a bill. So he's still, I don't know if he's still working on it or not. Maybe Steinmeier is and all that. So I made a big deal out of it on Facebook. And Bedoin wrote this, and I've kept this quote. And if we ever get this done, this is going to go in the founding documents of Truman County.
Awesome.
John Bedoin, very smart guy. We don't agree politically, but I like him a lot. He says, quote, it was a nutty, unorganized idea when they pitched it to us at the Examiner 25 years ago. And I cannot imagine it has any more coordination or support today.
Really?
Cuts to the quick, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing he's going to be a no. But we could possibly get the thing on the ballot, and who knows. Other issue in Jackson County, we have a lot of supporters back there who have signed the petition to recall Frank White. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on that from the state level? Not your ball game,
Yeah.
don't really care.
Really, from a state
Can't
level,
comment.
there's really nothing for us to do on that particular issue. I think you have a great person coming up here in a few minutes to give some update information on that, as well as probably what he's been doing on the assessments, and that's Preston Smith.
Yeah.
And he'll have some really good information for you on that.
Well, that was a really good tease.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You didn't even ask me to do that.
So I would say that, getting Jackson County to be part of the negotiations with retaining the franchises, work with the state, that's what would really be a state ask. And I know it's been asked before, but try and get them back. Yeah, the Royals, they are really looking at Clay County.
Yeah.
That is a
Royals are
great,
gone.
That could be an opportunity for them. And
They won't be in the Truman Sports Complex after
They will
2031.
not.
Yeah, agree with that.
Yeah.
So, but at least that would be retaining in Missouri. So, number one, let's hear a round of applause for those who want us to have Kehoe be in the negotiating table in the month of June. Good, good.
All right.
Hey, and one more thing about Jackson County. We have a very unique situation this year and next year. The opportunity may be over with after that for a little while, and that is, you brought it up before, we have the Speaker of the House, John Patterson, that lives in Lee Summit. And it's the first time that we've had a Speaker of the House going back into the 1800s.
Civil War,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So we've got one more year with him as Speaker, and it's been great to work with him. Carolyn and I have really appreciated being part of this opportunity to be a freshman when we have the Speaker of the House, and I just really hope good things for this area with him in the helm.
You guys are off to a great start.
Yep.
We are. We are probably the most successful freshman class, and a lot of us in Jackson County have gotten things passed. For my freshman year, I actually got 4 bills pushed through, including an HJR, which is unprecedented. There were only 2 other.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you, but that's a team effort, and that also is from leadership helping and driving and allowing me to do that. So that's, we work well together. And I think what we will see next year, we'll get even more things and better things passed.
One of the things about, you have term limits, and
Yeah.
I think I told Ron this when he won the election. Just when you find the bathroom, you find out that you've been term limited out. And I think I've always said I'm not a fan of term limits if everything were equal, because it affects good legislators and bad legislators alike. It's a tool of a lazy electorate, but unfortunately the electorate is lazy. Right? When they get a ballot in front of them, it's like, who do we know? Oh, we know that guy. That's how Emanuel Cleaver gets elected time after time after time.
Absolutely.
So, you're off to a great start, and I want you to continue to do good things.
Thank you.
I guess that's my point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Term limits, I will say that the people that do have the institutional knowledge in Jeff City, we found this out early on, is the lobbyists. They have been around for 20 and 30 years. They know the system better than us freshmen coming in, and that may not be the people you want with the institutional knowledge. Okay,
That's correct. And there's good ones and there's bad ones, and the way we weed them out is if someone comes into my office and says, I'd like you to support this bill, I ask them why they want me to support it, why they're supporting it, and then I ask them, what are your opponents going to say? What is someone that's not for your bill, why are they going to say no? And if they can't give me a good reason, because there's a good reason for yes or no, if they can't give me a good reason, then I ask them to please leave, and they typically don't come back.
Yeah. Well, probably typical at all levels of government, including Washington, D.C., if we took the money out of all this,
Yeah.
it would solve a lot of problems, don't you think?
Yes.
Very true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be a lot better government. All right, well, can we have a round of applause for our state legislators here for coming in?
And could I give a plug?
Oh, that's right. Carolyn's got a plug.
I do. So several of us have opened a standing committee, and it's called Western Missouri GOP. Yes. Thank you. And it is going to be at our old headquarters at 1140 US 40 Highway. We actually have our grand opening coming up. Yes. So please consider coming to that grand opening. It's Sunday, June 1st from 2 to 4. And what we're doing is we're making this bigger than just Jackson County. We want to hold hands with all of our other counties around and continue Trump's initiatives across all of Western Missouri. I'm going to give you another piece of information as soon as I can pull that up. So I thought I'd read to you our mission statement. It says, protecting our freedoms by working together to advance conservative values, education, and develop future leadership to secure a free and prosperous future for all citizens. So this is to unite all Republicans across all of Western Missouri. So please, our website is www.westernmissourigop.com. But please come to our grand opening, show us some support. We're going to have hot dogs and hamburgers, and I will be the poor person at the grill doing that. So at least come make fun of me, because I'm sure I'm really pretty on that day. And we're going to have ice cream. It's going to just be a lot of fun, a good kickoff. And if you have any ability to help donate and keep that going, that whole initiative going, we absolutely would appreciate any funds that you could throw our way.
You gave the address for that. What building is that?
So
It's the old headquarters on 40 Highway, where we were
you know where the
previously.
GOP on 40 Highway has
Yeah.
been for all these years?
I don't.
Okay, across from Veterinarian.
Yeah, close by Meyer Music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's right there. We've been
All
open
right.
for over 5 years.
Okay.
Across from
And,
Dale's Automotive, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely,
And we
okay.
do voter registration. We do candidate information. We'll have candidate forums there. We'd like the public to be able to come in and utilize that space as well.
Yeah.
And once we ramp into going into season, we'll have candidates speaking. We'll have their signs. We will have merchandise. We will have Trump merchandise as well. So we're going to be full-fledged operating committee.
All right.
Group, club. Yeah, what this very kind gentleman just said, for those of you, is that we are solely funded by private people, just companies, people donating their money. It is opened by volunteers, and the whole thing is just absolutely a volunteer situation. And real quickly, our hours are Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 10 to 5, and then once we get closer to any elections, then we'll be opening up for many more hours than that. So if you want to volunteer, we never have enough volunteers as well.
You gave a website out for that?
Yeah, it's www.westernmissourigop.com.
Okay, westernmissourigop.com. Maybe we can link to that on the podcast page as well. All right, give him a big hand. You got something else, Ron? You hold up your hand.
Dale, I just want to say thank you for all you do for our community, all the service you bring. You've got a great following, and I want to make sure you stay employed as the stadium announcer at Arrowhead, too.
Absolutely.
That's a big part of this here.
Hey, it's 10 minutes from my house. I don't want him to move to Kansas either.
Right.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Scott, do we have a way to give away some prizes? Okay, so you haven't given tickets out yet? Well, I didn't want to. Okay, if you want to win door prizes donated by our good friend Bob Watson back there, raise your hand, and Scott's going to be around to give you a ticket, and then we'll draw those out here before you know it. I want to tell you about some other great folks here who help bring you the podcast. Really good sponsors here. We could not do this without them. If you're going to buy a house, there's two things you need, right? You need to get the mortgage. You got to get pre-approved, right? Unless you're like a Chiefs player or a Royals player and you're going to go in and write a check for a house. Most of us aren't going to do that. So my friend Chad Taylor, who did the mortgage on my house, is at theredcarpetlender.com. And he's a great guy. He'll take care of you on the mortgage side there. There's no upfront hard credit hit to see if you can get approved for a home loan. He'll waive lender fees for veterans as a thank you for your service, free appraisals for first-time home buyers, police, fire, first responders, and school district employees as well. He's licensed in Missouri and Kansas, and the best way to find Chad Taylor is at theredcarpetlender.com. And then when you get pre-approved and you know what kind of a house you can afford, then you go see my buddy Michael Schroer. Michael was like triple booked tonight and could not be here. He apologized for that. But if you're looking for a house, he is with RE/MAX Elite in Lee's Summit. And we always give his phone number here because on a podcast you can stop and rewind and all that good stuff. 816-373-8400. Michael Schroer. His cell phone number is 816-520-9342. If you've been in the real estate game, you know that is a 24/7 game. And whether it's your first home, your bigger home because you got more kids, smaller home because the kids are leaving, thank God, or that piece of property that you want to build on, Michael Schroer is the guy to get that done. Another one of our sponsors who's usually at these things could not be tonight because his wife, Judge Taramina, decided he needed to be somewhere else. That is Mark Taramina, Dr. Mark Taramina with Midwest GI Health and Wellness. I wanted to have him on this podcast tonight with all the news breaking about President Biden and the cancer that he's going through, which we don't wish on anybody. That is a horrible thing. You know, Dr. Taramina does the other side. He does the colonoscopies and all that. So if you are 45 or older and you have not had your colonoscopy, get it done. Because colon cancer can kill you just like prostate cancer can. And, you know, if you're a man of a certain age, you better be having that PSA test. I have mine every time I have my physical, and my PSA number is fantastic. And my doctor says my prostate is smooth. I don't know what that means, but I think it's a good thing. And if Dr. Mark were here, we'd be talking to him.
Smooth as a baby's bottom.
That was it. Dr. Taramina is here in Lee's Summit. You don't need a doctor's referral to go see him. Just give him a call at 816-836-2200. Anybody in here want to admit to seeing Dr. Taramina for a colonoscopy? All right.
I say congratulations.
I mean, you've been to his place. I mean, it is like a factory. He's got them lined up in these beds, and they just go in. You wake up, it's like, go home. You're fine. No polyps. All right, where was I? Oh, another one of our fine sponsors. I mean, it takes a village to make this thing happen, and some of you know this guy, too, firsthand, and that is Dale's Body Shop in Blue Springs. Anybody banged up a car and had to go to Dale's? Yep. Yes, kids. Yes? Okay. We've all been there. Serving Kansas City since 1987. He is so good, in fact, that when they bang up the police cars on the Kansas side, they take them to Dale's Body Shop in Blue Springs. He's on 40 Highway, right where he's been for 37 years, taking care of customers, taking care of you. Dale Reynolds is a fantastic guy. And if you bang up your car and the wrecker says, where are we taking this thing, tell them to take it to Dale's, and they'll take it from there, and you will be very happy.
Tremendous people.
Are we ready to draw some... Everybody got a ticket? We have one more guest who's coming up to join us now. Preston Smith. Who knows Preston Smith? Give him a big round of applause here. Have a seat and grab that microphone, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Dale.
You bet. Glad to have you here. Preston and I actually have some history. You know about our history, right?
Well, what do you want to bring up?
Preston ran against me for city council in 2013. Yeah. But what you have found, I think, from us getting to know each other is we agree on far more than we ever disagreed on.
Well, Dale, there's more to that story than me just running against you. It actually was, I was employed by the school district at the time, and they had nobody actually contesting you. And they were afraid they would have to pay for the entire election. So they wanted me to put my name on the ballot in order to split up the cost.
Okay.
So I wasn't running against you.
Well, it's funny because when I did my door-to-door campaign, my youngest son, Jonathan, was driving me around, and we had a list of the most often voters. You know, you get the voter list from the Jackson County Election Board, and I noticed your name come up. And I told Jonathan, let's stop and say hi. So I knocked on your door, and your wife came to the door, and she said, "Oh, I'll get him." But I am so glad that we've gotten to be friends here. We're Facebook friends now, and I'm just thrilled about what you're doing to, A, maybe get us out of Jackson County, B, maybe get us back some of that $250 million we were overbilled, and C, maybe bring some accountability to the county.
Well, absolutely. 3 years ago, I ran for county executive.
I remember.
And yeah, I knocked on thousands of doors.
Uphill battle, though, because again,
tough, yeah.
we get back to people's name on a ballot. I mean, you ran against me, and I would say I've got pretty good name recognition in Blue Springs, and I think that there were people who voted for me just for that. Didn't know anything about me, didn't know what I did, but voted for the name. And I think that there are people in our county, maybe some in this room, maybe they won't admit it, who voted for Frank White because he was a pretty good second baseman.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who probably did that, I'm sure. But actually, I had a tough Republican primary. It was a lot of screw things that happened in that, you know, it's politics and ballots run. But, you know, that's in the rearview mirror. But I guess the thing that probably I'm most discouraged about from that campaign is that I knocked on all those doors and told all those people that said, I told them your assessment is going to go up 45%. And they stand in the front yard there and they laughed at me. And then the average across the whole county 2 years ago was 44%.
Yeah.
I missed it 1%. So I was dead on. I knew it was going to happen then. There's going to be another problem this time. We've got assessment notices that are going to be out probably in the next 2 weeks or 10 days. And when those things hit the mailboxes, there's going to be a lot of people surprised because I estimate there are probably close to between 50 and 100,000 people that should have appealed last time that didn't. Either because the county forgot to mail them a notice, or they didn't know about it, or they got scared of the process. So we should have had probably twice as many appeals 2 years ago as what we had. It's truly a train wreck of monumental proportions. The way they run this county has been a disaster from the get-go.
Yeah.
And not only that, I was one of the very first to point out all the illegal actions they've taken. They have broken state law after state law, just like running through a speed
And
bump.
they don't care.
They don't. They do it with just complete wait and disregard.
Yeah.
And I was the expert witness for the Attorney General for 2 trials and went toe-to-toe with these county lawyers for close to 20 hours on the witness stand and in deposition. I know how these people think. I know their whole attitude toward justice and law is just pathetic. And until we clean house from these people, we're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah. And, you know, we talked to CAROLYN Caton here, and she's talking about the bill that she put out there about the fact that, you know, if we get a statewide vote, which would go our way, that Jackson County, like every other county, would have to have an elected assessor, and you're going to run.
Yes, I am. I filed a committee. I'm going to declare next month. Thank you. Thank you very much. But the thing is, under the state constitution, you cannot have an elected assessor in Jackson County until 2028, a presidential election year. But let me point this out. Not too many people know this, but it was approved in the state constitution in 2009, that Jackson County was supposed to have an elected assessor then, and they disregarded the state constitution for 15 years. Just ignored it. It was in the state constitution that we were supposed to have had elected assessor this whole time.
Where's the enforcement?
There was no enforcement. We can only so many times we can plead and beg for the attorney general to step forward and get him to take action, but they just can't bring him in for everything.
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with a very lawless, wanton group. That's just what we're dealing with.
Well, and we talk about that in terms of splitting off from that county, because we just, it's a classic divorce deal, because there's irreconcilable differences. We can't reconcile with people who think differently than we do.
True. And I researched this ever since the last meeting that I came here when you talked about it with Jeff Coleman. I actually went to Jeff City and talked to the Secretary of State's people. I did talk to the governor's staff, went to the county clerk. The way the law reads is that we essentially, like you said, have to have the county legislature vote to approve of the ordinance. We have to vote as both Kansas City and Eastern Jackson County would have to vote to change the lines. And then we had to go a statewide vote in the state constitution to get that approved, because the county lines are described in the state constitution. So that's the final step.
But it's been done before.
It has been done before, and it's not impossible, but it is impossible as right here in Jackson County. Until we get in power, we're not going to be able to get those votes.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, it's tough for a Republican to win.
And the way they've stacked the deck in the county charter and the way the elections fall, it's nearly impossible.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that there are going to be some things happen between now and 2028 that I'll be running as an incumbent assessor. We'll find out, because we assume that the recall for Frank White is going to happen. It's going to be eventually going to happen. There will be a new county executive, and whether or not he's going to obviously have to appoint a new assessor, one that will have to change things.
Yeah.
And so we'll just have to see how that goes.
Yeah. What's your take on the recall? Because here's what I heard. I heard that there are enough signatures. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And that Frank White is going to fight this with county attorneys. So you and I are going to pay for Frank White to fight against the recall.
Pretty much as we've had to pay for the last 2 years as they fought against the tax assessment. It's just a blank check, and I know Sean Smith has worked very hard to try to cut down on the funds that they can go to the county attorney's office, but it doesn't matter. They find the money.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's some other people here in the back that Rita from Raytown, where the recalls Frank White signed. She's actually put the letter to the petitions for years now. And we're at the home stretch. We're there. We're so close that we can't quit at this point.
Yeah.
But like you said, is the way these people work the stall game, as they've done the tax assessment, try to gum up the works in the courts, and it will probably be almost another 2 years before we actually get resolution in the courts on the tax assessment, because it has to go to the Western District Court of Appeals, has to go to the state Supreme Court. And so we're talking probably 2 years before that process plays out.
Why don't we just set up a government in absentia and just, if they're going to blatantly disregard the rules, why don't we blatantly disregard the rules?
Well, Dale, I've advocated before publicly that we have 2 election boards for a reason, and the lines are clearly drawn in the election boards, and that'd be the logical starting place for us to have the division of the counties. And there's actually, when you look at the state representative districts that we've got, there was only one tweak that needed to be made around Grandview, and the lines will line up perfectly among the state Senate districts and the state rep districts, because I've done all the mapping to compare this out to see where it sits. So no, the lines would be easy to draw. It would be easy to fix this. We just need the will to make it happen.
Yeah, the will to make it happen. Do we have the will to make it happen?
Yeah.
I'm going to start printing Truman County T-shirts. What do you think of Truman County as the name of the county?
I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't care really what you call it, as long as what I would probably advocate is to go ahead and do like they did in St. Louis, have that the state of Kansas City County, and we keep Jackson. That way we keep our statutes.
Statues, yeah, okay. I'm okay with that too. We just have to get away from those people because they're controlling our lives here. And, we like where we live, right? You like living in Blue Springs. I like living in Blue Springs. I mean, the suburbs are great. We just have nothing in common, even down to crime. I mean, they have taken crime in Kansas City and made criminal justice about the criminal.
Right. I mean, the value system seems so foreign to anything we have to deal with. Even during COVID, I did an analysis comparing our COVID rules and regulations in Jackson County to even New York or California, and we were almost identical.
Yeah.
And the way they enforced, I mean, I don't know if you knew this, Dale, but there were only during COVID nationwide about 12 businesses that were closed because of COVID. And here in Jackson County, I think they closed 2 or 3 of those 12 nationwide. We have a different kind of government than anybody else in the country.
You brought up COVID. I'd forgotten about that. That was another one of the reasons I wanted to separate the county because they just
Dale, I'm not going to forget.
Clearly not. Yeah.
For what they've done to us and what they continue to do to us. But I've got to implore the people of Jackson County that this is not over. And when this tax assessment is coming out in the next few days, it's just horrible the way they're trying to play this game. We get notices later than anybody else in the state because they want to make sure you have the most narrow window to appeal as possible. And they're serious about that. And they also will make the appeal process as cumbersome and hard as they possibly can. Nobody else in the state has to go through what we have to go through. And also, I was on a call last week with the Board of Equalization, listening in on their attitude because I was trying to get a sense of how these people think. And the Board of Equalization staff actually put in place for the appeals to actually say, here's what the new number would be if the person was up only 15% from 2022 values. And the 3 members of the Board of Equalization, they immediately threw that out of hand. They said, oh, we're not all paying attention to that. We don't care. They just ignored it. And that's their mindset. And that's what we're dealing with right now. We got to figure out how to, I wouldn't say outsmart them, but we do have a game plan. And I'm going to announce that in the next few days in a video. But we have a game plan of how we're going to fight the county and how we're going to prevail in this year in the tax assessment appeals.
Well, let me know, and we'll spread the word on the podcast page.
Well, absolutely. We're going to have to get the word out because, as I said, we got 50 to 100,000 people that didn't appeal last time that really need to be reached right now.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to reach a point where people just say, screw it? There's other counties around here. I can still stay in Kansas City.
Absolutely.
I can live in Cass County. Someplace that's not as cumbersome?
I tell you get away from those borders from Jackson County, and there's a whole different attitude of freedom in this red state, and people detect that. But I deal with it every single day. I literally, in the last 2 years, I've dealt with thousands of people, helped them with their taxes, and I answer emails today. I answer probably a half dozen emails. People are saying, how do we get through this?
Yeah.
How do we fight it? But no, I think it's going to eventually affect our property values because people are not going to want to live in this county.
Right.
It will affect us all.
Yeah.
And it's going to be it will be a very short time. It will happen.
So we got to make it happen. You have a question?
Within 60 days. I mean, I saw the report on the news today. It said it could be as soon as July the 14th. If there's ever a time to get out and get the vote out, now is the time. And that's going to have to be the make or break issue. I tried to get the vote out 3 years ago to oust Frank White, and I was not successful. This is our last shot.
Yes, sir.
No. Tower Technology is the ones that did the assessment. This other group, I don't know if they paid to get those signatures done. I don't know that. Well, we have enough, I think. We're going to be certified, I think, pretty soon that we've got enough for the put on the ballot, even without the $150,000 to pay the group.
Let me ask you this, because you've obviously dealt with this at a deeper level than I have. I mean, recall Frank. I mean, that's one thing, but is Frank really the biggest issue that we have going right now?
I would say the root of all evil. Yes, I would, because he appoints the assessor, he appoints the county attorney, he appoints and oversees the budget, he vetoes pretty much everything. So now, essentially, the way they've written the county charter, he has way a disproportionate amount of power. There are very few checks and balances.
If he got recalled, who would take his place?
Well, the county legislature would have to appoint a person to be the interim county executive until the next election.
Who that might be?
I've heard a few names, and I don't strongly object. But we just have to see. Frank White's the devil we know, and the new interim, it's like, how can he be worse? Who knows? We're going to have to wait and find out. So right now the legislature's so dysfunctional, and the way they split 5-4 votes all the time, you got 4 people there in Frank White's corner, which politically, you can understand this. You've got 4 people that are like joined to the hip to Frank White. Why on earth will they continue to keep doing that when they realize he's going to be recalled? I mean, I'd be running for the high grass away from him, but they are like joined to the hips, and where there's a blackmail involved with these people, the legislature, or some other thing they've got held to them to make them continue to vote like this. I don't know.
All right. Well, to be continued, and you've done fantastic work on this, and please keep us in the loop and let us know how we can help. And
the big thing, Dale, in the next couple of days, you've got to encourage people to appeal because that deadline, July the 14th, is in concrete.
Okay.
And once that passes, they're locked in stone for their high taxes for the next 2 years.
And when would those have set? I haven't gotten mine yet. When will they?
Well, like I said, the county's probably going to put these out probably between the 6th and the 20th of June.
So you got a really tight turnaround time on appealing.
And they really want that. To urge everybody to sign up for the UPS informed delivery so you know exactly when they hit your mailbox.
Wow.
You need to track that because if it goes past the 15th, you can appeal directly to the State Tax Commission. And that's really going to be our salvation this time is the State Tax Commission. I've talked to their attorney. I know a game plan that we're going to incorporate with the State Tax Commission. It's going to be where we eliminate the Jackson County involvement as much as we can.
All right. Well, there's a lot of work to be done here, and a lot of folks out there are really interested in it, and we just got to keep on doing what we're doing.
Thank you.
All right. Preston Smith, give it up for him. And I think that's our show for tonight, right, Kurt? Okay. Thank you all for coming. Thank Jim Dingman. Thank all of our sponsors out here. Some of them are still here, and we just really appreciate you. And to be continued, as they say. Until next time, this is Dale Carter's America. Thank you. Good job. Yeah.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.